What's up guys, my name's Albert over here at Nash Powersports Phoenix, here to give you guys some quick tips on how to install the Nashty Custom's 4-door skins on your Can-Am X3 Max. First step to install the 4 doors on your Max is you're going to want to go ahead and strip all the factory door skins. So as you see right here, the car already has the door skin stripped off of it. You will need to save some of the factory hardware. I'll come over here and show you that. So I kind of scattered and organized all the hardware for you guys. These are going to be your door latches. Each door is going to get 2 sets of these L brackets. So 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the factory hardware that you're going to use that you took off of the factory door skin. So you're going to reuse those bolts here to bolt on the L bracket to your new door skin. 2 extra pieces that you're going to use for the rear doors only. So this is very common for guys that ask questions. These pieces right here are for the rear doors only. I marked this one for you, driver rear, and this one's passenger rear. So that's going to be your first step. So we're going to work on the passenger side so everyone can see what's going on here. I'm going to take this bracket first, along with a couple Allen bolts, a couple washers, a couple nuts. This bracket right here is actually going to bolt on and line up with these 2 factory holes right here. The only modification you are going to need to do before you install this bracket is this little hole right here will need to be drilled out just a little bit to get the new bolt to go through there. So with the drill, and I'm just going to use a step bit. You can use a drill bit if you want, but you just need to drill this hole out to about the next size. That's a 1/4 inch hole, and then you're ready to put that bracket on. Bolts are going to go towards the outside of the car along with a washer and nut, as you see right there. Because I drilled that out, that now fits through there, and we're going to do the same thing on the top hole. Going to put the bolt through, washer and nut, and there you have it. I'm going to go ahead and tighten these up a little bit. I'm going to still have it able to have a little bit of wiggle room, but that way it's not so loose right now. So with a number 4 Allen and 11mm wrench, you can go ahead and snug these up a little bit, make it easier for later when we go ahead and put the door skin on. Like I said, snug it up, but still give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. So that's step 1. Now that that first bracket is on, we're going to go ahead and take the second rear bracket. This is where that other longer L bracket comes in. Now in the hardware kit, there are 2 longer Allen bolts. These are for that other bracket. So we're going to take this, the long bolt, washer and nut, and where this is going to go is it's going to kind of float on top of the stock door frame, and it's going to line up with that hole that's already existing. There's no drilling needed. All right, very carefully go ahead and grab your bolt and your door skin, and this is where you're going to hold that bracket in place, and the bolt is going to go through the door skin. So now that I got that longer Allen bolt through the door skin, the L bracket, and the door frame, we can move on to the front bracket, where we're going to take a shorter Allen bolt and nut. We're just going to go ahead and stick that bolt through the door skin and the brackets. And this is how the door skin is held on. Okay, so those are the 2 important brackets, and that is how they go on. So there, and like I said, this one just floats in between the door skin and the door frame, and the bolt goes through it. Now we can move on to the 2 L brackets that are going to bolt the bottom half of the door skin on. This is where you're going to take the 2 stock bolts, nuts and washers, and you're going to use those to bolt it onto the existing door frame and new skin. So you'll run the bolt down through the frame. Put the stock washer and nut back on. There'll be a washer on both sides of the frame. And right now, guys, I'm just leaving everything loose for you. Once those are started, you can grab the other 2 Allen bolts and you'll run those through door skin and L brackets. Okay, so now I'm grabbing 2 more bolts, 2 more nuts, and 2 more washers. Keep in mind, guys, you're not gonna use any washers on the outside of the skin. It just makes it look a nice and flush, a lot cleaner look. So just getting everything hand tight for now. Everything started. Same thing. You're gonna do the bolts, washer, nut. All right, there you have it. There's all the hardware ready to go, ready to be tightened. We're gonna move on to the front door before we go ahead and tighten everything up, because you wanna get both door skins on, that way you can align them properly. A couple more bolts, washers, and nuts, and we're gonna move on to the front door skin. There is no additional brackets needed. It's just gonna be skin straight to the existing door frame. So I'm gonna go ahead and line this hole up right here. Right here, this hole will go right into that hole on the door frame. So there's the first hole right there. Next hole will be in the back. It'll line up right with that factory hole already in the door frame. Just like that. And there you have it. That door skin is already hanging on there really good. And then just like the rear, we're gonna take 2 more of those L brackets, exactly like the rear door. We're gonna use the stock bolts, the T30 bolts here, and we're gonna bolt up those L brackets. So just like the rear, guys, it's gonna be bolt, factory washer, L bracket, another factory washer, and the nylock nut. Get that started. Move on to the back hole, same thing. Bolt, washer, L bracket, another washer, another nylock nut. And it's real important not to tighten those up at all until you get the other bolts through the door skin and L bracket too. If those are tight, you're not gonna be able to get those bolts on. So leave everything loose. I'm gonna go ahead and grab those other 2 bolts, 2 more washers, and 2 more nuts. And then I'm gonna take the bolt, run it through the outside of the door skin, washer, nut. And then a quick little tip there is you'll just pull this bolt up so you can get the other bolt on. So you can just move this out of the way. If this was tight, you wouldn't even be able to get this bolt on. So like I said, leave everything nice and loose. Same thing, just pushing this bolt through the door skin into the L bracket, tightening it up by hand. There you have it, guys. Now you have both front and rear door skins mocked up. Everything is super loose, so there are plenty of adjustment here to make sure that your body lines are nice and straight. If you were to just go ahead and start tightening these bolts up, a lot of times your body lines are not gonna line up properly. So say you tighten this up and you tighten this one up and there's this big gap here, you know you're gonna wanna loosen everything up and get everything straight before you tighten everything up. All right, guys, what I like to do is go ahead and latch the front door completely. That'll make sure you're nice and lined up where the door needs to go. Don't even worry about the rear door yet. We're gonna worry about the front first. So latch this door completely, make sure it's nice and tight. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna start tightening up this back screw here. Get it nice and snug. So now with this bolt tight, I'm gonna go ahead and open up the door and I'm gonna move on to this front bolt right here. We're gonna go ahead and get that guy nice and snug. Just hand tight, guys. You don't have to go crazy with an impact. Okay, guys, now both top bolts are nice and snug. This door is nice and tight now. We still gotta move on to the bottom brackets right here. Now we're gonna go ahead and move on to the factory T30 bolts. One here and one there. And then the front door will be fully tightened up. So I'm just getting these snugged up right now. The factory bolts are still loose. Once again, just tightening up the Allen bolts. So ratchet, T30, 10 millimeter wrench, and go ahead and finish tightening up the front door skin. So now we are tightening up the factory bolts that are going onto the L bracket. Moving on to the back. So we can go ahead and close this door now, and that is done. So now what I want to do is I want to close the rear door where it latches back on. And you'll notice you'll be able to walk this door skin back and forth to properly align both front and rear door skins. So focusing on the top body line here, you'll want to pull it out and get it nice and level. Once you're satisfied on where it's at, you're going to want to do your best to hold that door skin in place and maybe lean your body up against it so that you can start to tighten one of these bolts. I'm gonna focus on the back bolt first. So applying pressure on the door skin so it doesn't mess up the placement. All right, now that bolt right there is snug. Just by me tightening that one bolt, it's lined up really nice. As it sits, it looks nice and flush. So I'm gonna carefully open that door up and tighten that top bolt without moving it. Doing my best to try and keep that door right where it's at as I'm tightening so it doesn't move on me. Now that that bolt is tight, I'm gonna go ahead and close the door one more time. Looks like I'm still nice and level. I'm gonna go ahead and reopen that door up. And now I'm gonna finish tightening these other two Allen bolts that are bolted onto the door frame. Just like that. Now that those are nice and tight, we can move on to the bottom half, just like the front L brackets. We're gonna tighten those up first, the Allen bolts, snug those up, and then we will move on to the factory T30s. All right, there you have it, guys. So now both brackets all the way around, front and rear, all tightened up. We still have the factory door handle on there. We'll get to that in a second, but just wanted to make sure everything lines up still. Make sure all the doors close nice and tight. Nothing's rubbing too hard on your body. As you can see, both front and rear door skins are lining up real nicely. A nice clean line. If there was a little bit of a rough spot, you can loosen this back up. It's important to adjust more of the rear door than the front. I've noticed throughout all the installs we've done, there's more adjustment on the rear door than the front, which is why I always tighten up the front door skin first and then move to the rear. But you guys can see it's nice and straight. Looks nice and professional. You can check fitment here, nothing's rubbing. You can check fitment in the back, make sure nothing's rubbing on the body here. If something was rubbing, you'd want to loosen everything up and readjust things. All right, guys, so the last step to completing your door install front and rear is going ahead and removing each latch front and rear. I already did it, but you can see it is gone. It's just two bolts, two Allen bolts, front and rear. The best way to remove this rivet on the factory door handle, in my opinion, is taking a die grinder and grinding off the rivet. So I will go ahead and show you how to do that right now. So I'm just grinding off the back side of the rivet. Until it is flush. And then I'm going to take a pair of pliers and grab onto the head of the rivet. There you go. So that's what it looks like once that rivet's out. And you'll notice that your new door handle is going to line right up with those 3 holes. I'm not going to bolt this up until I mount the latch back on. If you mount the handle first and then the latch, you'll notice it'll be difficult to get the 2 factory bolts back into the door frame. So I'm gonna leave it just like that. I'm gonna get the other one out real quick. I'm gonna go ahead and remount this to the door frame. I'm gonna take this guy, run my bolts back through. So remounting the latch before you mount the door handle. When you go to snug up that bolt, make sure that everything is lined up nice and level with the door frame, and tighten her up. Now, without closing the door completely, I'm gonna gently close this and leave it unlatched. If you latch it, it's gonna be difficult to reach in there and unlatch the system. I'm gonna move on to the front door, mount that door latch, same 2 steps. Making sure that everything lines up nice. Carefully close the door without latching it. And I'm gonna move on to grabbing the hardware for the new door handles. You'll notice they're gonna be the smaller button heads and the smaller nuts. You're gonna do 3 per handle. And we're gonna go ahead and mount the new handles back up. We'll start with the rear. Everything lines up with the existing holes on the door latch. Just tightening all 3 bolts up, guys. And then we will be all set on this rear door. All right, there you have it, guys. There's some quick tips on how to install our Nashty door skins on your Can-Am X3 and X3 Max. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you have any other questions, feel free to call down at Nash Powersports Phoenix and we will help you out.